I'm James Holder, welcome to Full Court Football 24. We're in the 2010 club today in Mitcham. Quite privileged to be joined by former Leeds, Charlton, Ipswich, Cardiff, Queen's Park Rangers, Hull City and Plymouth Argyle star. None other than Simon Walton. How are you?
I'm alright, mate. I'm very well, thank you very much.
I've got to say thank you very much for agreeing to come on the channel. It's great to spend a little bit of time with you.
Not a problem, mate. Anytime, you know that.
I want to look back a little bit on your career today. It's been quite an interesting journey from start to finish and some real interesting times to reflect on. Can you talk us through your grassroots football, sort of growing up? Because I know you're from Leeds.
So I started playing. I think I played for a club local to me about 7 years old, but I think it didn't start till under 9s back then. You didn't have the under 5, 6, 7s, 8s that you have nowadays. And I wasn't very good, to be honest, to start with. I was like a little kid. My dad's got homemade videos on the old school camcorders, and I just stand in one place, don't move. I played left back of all places, where you stick the kid who's not very good. And somehow I managed to get a trial at Hull City. Hull City weren't the Hull City that they are now. They were in the old ground, second division as it was back then. I got on a 6-week trial there. I think it was through like a soccer school thing. I got turned down from there. I wasn't good enough, and then somehow I played another year, 2 years local, team local to me. Got a trial at Leeds, played well in a cup final, whatever it was, East West Riding under 11 cup final, but I was playing a year up. Got a trial at Leeds, 6 weeks trial, and the rest, as they say, is history. I signed there at 10-year-old, and I was there till I was 19.
Being from Leeds yourself and having that affiliation with the club, am I right in saying your family had season tickets as well?
Yeah, we had season tickets at the time, so obviously for me to get the old headed letter come through the post, because it wasn't phone calls or agents or anything back then, you got the old school letter through the post. So I got an official invitation to play in, it was a trial game back then, so you went to a trial game and clubs picked out 2 or 3 to go on a 6 weeks trial. So yeah, I got picked, and for me, turned up and you played in the Leeds kit at 4-patch. It wasn't quite the 4-patch it is now. It was an unbelievable feeling, and obviously I did quite well in the game. I got asked back, and within 2 weeks, I think it was, I didn't even complete the trial. I'd signed my first not contracts, but I'd signed my first forms anyway. You know, they all fill in the forms, have your picture taken. So yeah, that was it. And for me and my family, we had season tickets at the time. My dad had been going for years. I'd been going since I was 4. I'd had a season ticket since I was 4, and yeah, to sign there at your local club was a dream come true.
What do you think the difference was from getting obviously that no at Hull to getting accepted in Leeds in that 2-year period? What do you put that down to?
Not a clue. I think just playing football as a kid. Like I said, I'd not been anywhere. I was just playing. I got asked to go along and play at a Sunday league club, and like I said, my dad's got videos. We laugh about it now. I'm just stood in the same place like a kid who don't move. He didn't have to move very far with his camera. Went to Hull. Just didn't. I don't know. I wasn't good enough. Full stop. I mean, I can't particularly remember it, but it wasn't the greatest of setups back then. And then I just went back, played more football, went to different football courses and school camps as they did back then, and my dad used to advise me, help me a lot, work with me in the back garden, and yeah, before you know it, I'd turned half decent overnight. I think a lot of it was certainly down to the hours with my old man in the back garden, I think. But yeah, no, it was an experience, even at 8 years old, whatever I was, to get rejected at 8 and to come back at 10 to sign for your actual hometown club who were flying high in the Premier League at the time. It's just an example for all those young kids that you get one now. It doesn't mean that your dream's over there.
What was it like your first season playing in the Leeds Academy? Can you remember?
I just remember turning up. You'd go on team buses. I mean, I couldn't tell you much about it. I mean, I know back them days you didn't particularly have a position. You turn up and you were played around places. So I used to play centre-back, centre midfield, up front, wherever. But just turning up wearing a Leeds kit, I know it sounds daft, but even as a kid, just when you stand there in the Leeds kit, one that my dad probably paid 50 quid for to get me for Christmas. Yeah. I got to wear it for free on a Saturday or a Sunday, whatever it was. So yeah, just the feeling, and you used to get free tickets for the games back then, which was no good. Again, to my old man because they'd paid, and my mum, they'd paid for a season ticket.
already got theirs.
We got free tickets for the next 8 years, and we still had season tickets. But yeah, it was just, like I said, it was a dream come true for me to play for my club, the club that I supported. I had Leeds bed sheets, Leeds wallpaper, all the stuff that you get. So yeah, no, it was just unbelievable. Like I said, I remember my coaches. I remember players.
Who would you say was
with.
most inspirational to you as a from a coaching standpoint at that time?
At a young age,
Yeah. Through like the Leeds through your Leeds academy days.
At a young age, I had I don't know where he is now, unfortunately, or what he's doing, but he was a Geordie guy, George Trotter his name was, and I had him in the under-11s, and he took a real kind of interest and used to speak to my parents and tell them that he thinks that I'm going to go to the top, and that was the first kind of coach. I mean, Leeds back then, it was one of the best academies anyway, so the coaches were all good, don't get me wrong. So I had George, he was my under-11s coach. I think he didn't have a massive background in football. I think he was a prison warden during the week or whatever. 'Cause back then, you trained once during the week and played on a Sunday at academies. It weren't like it is now, where they're full-time. It was literally the coaches would have had a second job and coached you at the same time, even the ones who had played in the game. And then going through the ranks, I had Dave Harrison and Mal Shotton. As an under-14. Dave Harrison's now head of recruitment, I believe, at Manchester United. And Mal Shotton, he played hundreds of games for Oxford, won FA Cups, whatever. Funnily enough, I saw a piece about him the other day in the, I think it was in Daily Mail, anyway, one of the papers. He was just an old-school, total opposite from what you'd get now as an under-14 coach. He taught you dark arts. At 14, he would say he taught you the dark arts. If they're going high, you going higher. As a centre half, he'd do heading practice with you with your elbows up here. So yeah, he was. He kind of brought out that side of me, which has stood me in good stead, and probably brought all of us on a few years, because it's not something you really teach kids, especially now. I mean, I work around academies now. If an academy coach said to a under-14, now if they're going high, you going higher, I'm not sure how long he'd keep his job. But yeah, they were good to me. Like I said, Dave, obviously, Dave was a tough love sort of coach to me. He knew how good, at that time, I'm not being funny, I was good. I was the star man in my age group. I was playing age group up. Under 14s, I'd started going on camps at England and stuff, but he was the tough love kind of coach with keep your feet on the floor. He spoke to my parents, and he would, didn't beat me down at all, that's very harsh, but he'd keep you in check. He wouldn't let you get too ahead of yourselves, which is what every young player needs. And then growing up, I had Warren Joyce as my youth team coach, although he didn't coach me that much because I kind of missed out the under 17s and 19s as it was back then, and kind of skipped and went straight to reserves and first team. But he did a lot of work with me. Like I said, I was playing in the under 17s when I was in under 15, so Warren used to do a lot of work with me, and outside of training and stuff, he spoke to my parents a lot and gave us a lot of advice with regards to the contracts and other clubs and agents and sponsorship and all this. And he was very, again, old school, which, if I look back now, this was 18 years ago, so it was bound to be a bit old school. But yeah, it was that academy at the time, and that we had Brian Kidd, Pop Robson, Andy Welsh. I mean, Andy Welsh worked for Man City first team, Brian Kidd's with Man City first team. Warren Joyce was Wigan manager, he was Man United's reserve team manager. So at the time, you couldn't really fail with how standard of coaches that they had at the academy. So they were the ones really that kind of pushed me on and helped me get a good grounding. 'Cause at the time, it was, I'm not being biased, but I think Leeds was certainly in the top 3 academies in the country without a shadow of a doubt for the players it produced. And
who else would have been in the academy with you at that time? Who would have been in the team? So
around my age group would have been James Milner, Aaron Lennon, Scott Carson, Johnny Howson's gone on to do well.
Wow.
Fabian Delph was a little bit younger, Danny Rose. Who else can I name drop?
To be fair, that's a few good names.
Yeah, who else?
A few good names in there.
Come on, I can think of some of us. There was more. And then obviously a couple of years older, you got your likes of Alan Smith, Jonathan Woodgate, Harry Kuehl came through the academy, Ian Hart came through the academy, Paul Robinson came through the academy. it was just the players they were producing.
Incredible.
It was one of the top. Like I said, they were one of the first academies to get the state of the art training facility, and just it was an unbelievable place to be.
What was James Milner like at that age?
Exactly the same as he is now.
Really?
Exactly the same. I'm not going to pretend he's my best mate now because I hadn't spoken to him for years and years. But he was the same as probably what you think now. He didn't drink, but he'd socialise with the lads, and he didn't used to sit in a room and read a book because we had digs at the time, so he stayed at Fort Parch, and I used to go and stay in school holidays and that. He was a couple of years older, but he was just one of the lads. But obviously his work rate, his attitude, and he was the one that you went into your meetings with the coaches, and everyone would say, just look at James Milner, look, you got to be not like him, but yeah, you've got to take his attitude, but again, he was an unbelievable player, so it wasn't just that he got his way through by having a great attitude, his ability, he was a tricky winger back then, and he was the one that everyone kind of aspired to be, from my age anyway. I mean, obviously there was players a little bit older, but for me, because he was a couple of years up, and I used to play with him at a younger age, so maybe 13, 14, 15, I'd played with him. He was the one that you kind of looked and aspired to be like.
Were you playing a year up or a year or two up? Who was your friends in that academy team? Who was you closest to?
I grew up with Lenny, Aaron. We signed at the same time. He was a year group up, but we were a similar age.
What's Aaron Lennon like?
Again, wow, you can imagine Aaron to be. He was like, he was the lad who came in, he'd get picked up, he'd have his diamond earrings in and new Louis Vuitton wash bag. But he was a great lad as well. He was flashing his ways. But
even at that age, he liked his designer clothes and stuff.
He had the top everything. But again, he was the one.
Top everything.
He was the one that everyone wanted. He was the one that when you played teams down south, even at that age, they knew who Aaron Lennon was because of just how good he was. I mean, he was the quickest thing I've ever seen live. He's not
really
playing, I've seen, but like playing against, I just remember at 13, 14 being like, wow. He was unbelievable, and we played in all our England squads together. Obviously, apart from the first team, but yeah, we kind of grew up through the academy together, and he was just, like I said, between him and James, personality-wise, they were total different, but ability and quality-wise, they were two of the best players probably the two best players I've ever played with at that age, certainly.
And you represented England at schoolboy level up to the under-21 age as well.
Yeah.
Some fantastic players. Am I right in thinking Milner and Aaron Lennon would have been in them teams with you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they played up a lot, but we played in the same ages throughout it, and then they'd get the moves up, and obviously Millie still played the most amount of under-21 games ever, I think. I think he started playing from when he was 15 or something.
Incredible.
But yeah, he was growing up. But there was others that I said, we had a lad who was my age, and I literally signed Ben Parker, who was a left-back. He played for Leeds first team, again, played for England with me, but he had a hell of a time with injuries and stuff, and had to retire early, so to speak, and now he's working for LUTV and that, so he's done all right of it. But we were the ones who kind of at that age progressed, and then you had Johnny Howson, who just came out of nowhere. He was a good player, but he never really played, when I was there, he never really played up, so to speak, but technically you could always tell he was a player. And then he speak about late developers, he came from nowhere, he's had an unbelievable career, he's captain Leeds, played in the Premier League for Norwich, he might have played in the Premier League for Middlesbrough as well, I'm not sure, but yeah, we produced a few players.
So at this point, you signed professional terms at Leeds United. That first team being in the Premier League as well, they're absolutely flying. You've got the likes of Alan Smith, Harry Kewell, Jonathan Woodgate, Paul Robinson, to name but a few in that team. Who was the manager? Was George Graham in charge?
Nah, so when I first got offered my professional terms, it was David O'Leary had just left. I think Peter Reed... So anyway, it's a hell of a story. So Terry Venables had just taken over from David O'Leary. So he was the first one that I met. And then by the time it came round to signing and stuff, Peter Reed was in charge. And then by the time it came to the end of the season where it was like sign your deals, have your pitch taken on the pitch, etc., etc. Eddie Gray was the manager. So during the course of me signing my professional contract, there was 4 first-team managers, and it might have been, was it 3 different chairmen as well in that time, or 3 different owners.
That's incredible.
Unbelievable. So you met David O'Leary and Peter Ridsdale. Obviously, they clubs at that age, they want to make you feel part of it because they wanted me to sign. There was interest, and then whatever happened with them happened. Then it was Peter Reid and Professor John Mackenzie. Met them again. They offered, said they want to. I'd be there for years. Blah blah blah. And it was Peter Reid and I can't remember the other chairman's name. It might have been Gerald Krasner by the time it had come to agreeing the actual money and signing on the dotted line. So it was a good fun time.
What was it like as a young player when you found out the news David O'Leary was going to leave the club? Obviously, he was such a big part of what Leeds had achieved at that time, finishing 4th, getting to the Champions League semi-final, then finishing 4th the next season. Massive for Leeds as a team. What was it like when O'Leary had departed?
I mean, I'm not sure. When he was there, I can only compare it to kind of Frank Lampard at Chelsea now, because when David O'Leary came in, all the kind of older pros, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbanks, people, your Bowers, people like that, whoever, kind of left. And then you got Alan Smith came out of nowhere, Jonathan Woodgate came out of nowhere, Harry Kewell had been around but came out of nowhere, Ian Hart came out of nowhere, Paul Robinson,
Lee Bowyer as well from Charlton.
People, and it was just young, like they used to call them O'Leary's babies. That was their name. But so obviously, being a young player at that time, it was exciting. Like I'm sure being at Chelsea is exciting now because you see, and to be fair, a lot of clubs doing it. You look at Man United now, as much as it pains to say, they've got good young players. So it was similar to that feeling, thinking, well, I've got a chance. I'm at one of the best academies. People keep telling me I've got a good future. I've got a good chance. And the first team manager obviously wasn't afraid to stick young players in. So when he left, it was a little bit, as you can imagine, it's a bit. And then when he left, you got the total opposite. You got Terry Venables, who signed Paul Oak on, a 35-year-old centre midfielder from God knows where. And then before you know it, we had Nicky Barmby, who, by the way, is a legend. Like, not a bad word, but he was 34 at the time. People like that, so it just went the total opposite way, and then that was the beginning of the end for Leeds in the Premier League.
Did you have much interactions with Terry Venables when he was the manager?
No, not really. No. Like I said, I had one sit-down meeting with him, as managers do when your clubs are trying to get you to sign. They put you in front of the manager and they meet you, pretend to know you and know all about you and tell you you're going to be the best thing. But yeah, no, I met him once, met him briefly, but so I can't really comment on him. I know a lot of other people who were there at the time have commented on him, and I don't think he will go down in Leeds folklore, put it that way. But yeah, I can't comment on him. We had a meeting with him with my parents, and he was fine.
Talk me through the following season. You made. I know you was on the bench that season a couple of times, but you made your professional debut for Leeds the following season.
Yeah. So the season before, I'd kind of broke into the reserves. Well, not broken. I was playing for the reserves, which back then wasn't the reserves that it is now. The reserves was literally if you were on the bench for the first team and didn't play over half an hour, you were playing on the Tuesday night. So you had big hitters playing in every reserve game.
Really?
It was a proper competitive thing. Not now where you get, I go and watch reserve or under 21s, whatever they call it now. Yeah. No one tackles, no one lies. It was a total opposite back then. It was competitive, and you knew that if you played well, you had a chance of starting or being involved, certainly, for the first team on a Saturday, because it was basically the subs from the first team. So you were literally that close to getting a shot. So back then, playing for the reserves was quite a big deal. So I'd played for him quite a few times that season, done really well, been involved, trained with the first team a bit, called up, and there were still very good players around at that time. And then I had an unfortunate, in the FA Youth Cup in February time, I fell and dislocated my shoulder like really badly. So I had to have an operation, so I kind of missed the next 2 or 3 months it was. So it kind of stopped because I was on the verge, and like Eddie Gray had taken over, and at this point I thought, I've got half a chance of getting a sniff here, and then that sort of curtailed it. And then the following season, it was literally like from not to 100 real quick.
As a young player and getting a chance to, as you said, play with that star-studded squad of first-team players who are turning out for the reserves and being exposed to that banter and that everything that goes along with it. How was that as a young man? How did you like that?
Mate, it was mental. Like, I played my first reserve game against Man United at Ellen Road, and there was like 11,000 people there. That's like, you wouldn't get that now. If Leeds played Man United now, even the rivalry, you wouldn't get. There was 11,000 people there. We had like Ian Hart hadn't played. Michael Bridges was coming back from injury.
Wow.
Milner was in the reserves at that time. Lucas Radaby had just come back from injured, so we're playing. These were people who I grew up watching.
Club legends as well.
Nigel Martin was in there because Paul Robinson had brought it into the team at this point. There was people it was proper. And they had people, I'll never forget, they had, what was his name? Quinton Fortune playing, Giuseppe Rossi up front, PK played, people like that. And it was proper. And you're walking into an environment not where that reserve team football was, people still wanted to win. If you got beat as a reserve, I don't know, I'm only speculating, but I can imagine. If you got beat now, but played really well, I'm not quite sure the reserve team manager's saying an awful lot. But if we'd got beat in a reserve team, Steve Agnew was reserve team manager, but Kevin would be there, you would get it, you would know. So we won 2-0 that day, and I'll never forget it. And then, the following week we played Liverpool. So that was interesting. They had Danny Murphy, I think he'd come back from injury. Risa played left back. They signed the two French lads, Letalek and Pongol, and people like that.
I remember them. Cinema Pongol.
Yeah, at Anfield as well. So you're like, Jesus. Like, for me, it was just, I don't know. It was hard to. When you look back now, it's easier to think wow than at the time, because at the time you're just a young kid. You don't really have chance to kind of look around and go, wow. You just get on with it. Like, oh yeah, sweet. Where's my boots? That was it.
What were the older players like with you sort of on the coach? Because no doubt they'll be having their card schools, they're having their banter. So you're a young man at this point. Any sort of funny stories you can tell us?
Yeah, I've got one for you. We had Blackburn away, and we used to play cards. You had a card school in the youth team. You'd play for like £1 and £2. If you lost 50 quid, you were absolutely gutted, because that was like half your week's wage.
That's big money for a YTS player.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you lost 50 quid like over the night or whatever it was, you'd be fuming. So anyway, I don't know how I've got roped into it, but I'm sat at the back of the bus. Whether I think I was probably getting made to make teas or coffees or whatever, and somehow I've got roped into it. And there's 8 of us playing at the back, 2 tables of 4. There's Michael Dewberry, Scott Carson, Ian Hart, Michael Bridges. Anyway, there was 8 of us. I think they were. Who else was in it? Might be Nicky Bambi was in it, and I've just got roped into playing. So I'm playing. I can't remember what we were playing. I think it was like. Was it Rummy? Anyway, don't matter. So anyway, long story short, we're still playing. I'm losing. I'm thinking, oh no. And they're putting like 100s and 200s down. And you know, when you get to the point as a young kid, you're thinking, I can't go back now. I can't go back. I'm too far in. So anyway, it came to the end. By the time we left, I think I owed about 800 quid, 700 or 800 quid, like out to everyone. For me, I was on £90 a week as a YTS. I'm thinking, so we get off, and Michael Bridges is like, look, don't worry about it. We don't pay our debts till Friday. This was like a midweek game. I'm going, oh, Friday when? I'm thinking, oh no. And you know when you're all right, yeah, I'll get it to you. And I'm thinking, oh no. And like, I'm thinking, I'm gonna have to have my mum to get me savings or something like that. So anyway, got off the coach. I had to help carry the skips in. Got on the pitch, and like, by the end of it, it came into training and we'd played the game, came back, I'm like, I ain't playing again. I didn't. It came to training Wednesday, Thursday, and they just all burst out laughing, like throwing Monopoly money at me. Like, you ain't got to play. I think it was Monopoly money or something. Like, but they'd played for money, and so they played for big money.
They weren't going to take your money.
They weren't going to take my money, but that was. It's hard to explain, but I just remember, you know, and you get that sinking feeling. I'm thinking, oh no, because I didn't really know what I was doing at one time. I'm going, yeah, that's like 300 quid you lost that, and I'm like, oh. So yeah, but they were. That was the times where people played jokes and pranks, and even as a young kid, you'd get battered, like not beat up. Well, odd occasion you might do, but you felt part of first teams because like they do stupid stuff to you. Whereas now you don't get away with it. After lads, if they'd done what they did to us, they'd have been sacked or whatever. But we loved it. Like, I loved it. Like that.
Genuinely.
That to me, like, made me think. Made me feel like one of them. I've got Michael Bridges and people like that laughing and joke, like taking the mick out of
Brilliant.
me. You know what I mean? Instead of just going, "Can you make me a tea?" and leaving me out.
They'd
gone out of the way to try and make me feel involved.
And included you.
Yeah. And I kind of stayed out of card games and that after that.
I can well believe it.
Until, for a few years anyway.
What's the best prank you've seen? Maybe not played on yourself, but played on someone else.
So I've told this story before, and it didn't go down particularly well. I was at Leeds. Talk about Leeds again. And this again won't happen today. I was only 17. We had our Christmas do in Dublin. We played West Ham away on a Friday night. Went out in London on the Friday as a 17-year-old. Like, normally the manager's going, make sure, like, nowadays you'd get a driver to take you home. You got no chance going out at 17. So anyway, the manager's like making sure you're going. You've got to make sure you go. I said, all right.
He's making sure you're attending?
Yeah. You've got to go. You're one of the lads. You've got to go. Like, I've got Gary Kelly, people like that going, no, you've got to go. Like, you're one of the lads. You have to, I've had to. The lads were paying like £1,000 fine to not go for the weekend. I'm like, oh, no, I'll go. So anyway, we went out on a Friday night somewhere in London, one of the big clubs. I'm like, wow. Like, we played West Ham, we drew 1-0, we scored in the last second, so it made it. I was like, wowzers. I'm 17. We flew to Dublin the next morning, chartered jet and everything. The club had paid for everything. I was on 90 quid a week, didn't have to pay for a thing. First team ads looked after you. Went out Saturday morning for breakfast. We got, we got back to our rooms, because we were going back to our rooms. Got a note through our doors, because you didn't have text or WhatsApp. Well, you had text, but you didn't have WhatsApp or anything. You got a note through your doors. Can you all meet in the so-and-so meeting room? We were staying in the Morrison Hotel in Dublin, never forget it. So we're in this room, and Gary Kelly and Paul Butler have walked in, like, looking all sad and sombre. I'm like, what's going on here? So I went, lads, we got some bad news. Sam Ellis passed away in the strip club last night, because we was in a strip club, and Sam Ellis was our assistant manager. Like, he was big, like, used to have cigars. So yeah, they're going, look, sorry, we're going to have to take, like...
Dead straight as well?
Yeah, dead straight. They were like, look, I'm so sorry that, Sam Ellis, he's passed away. He had heart failure or whatever last night. So, like, he was good to me, and I'm like, absolutely cut up over it. I'm ringing my mum and dad going, I can't believe Sam's dead. And obviously there was no Sky Sports News, so it weren't like they could say it's not on Sky Sports News. So, and then Carl's like, look, let's just stay. Let's just like stay and have a drink for him.
That's what he would have wanted.
That was it. That's what he would have wanted, because he would have. Because he used to sit there. He used to come on nights out and sit there with his big cigar. He was about 60 odd at the time, like. So he's going, it's definitely what he would have wanted. Come on, let's stay. And the lad's going, I'm younger. I'm like, to the other young lads going, I can't go out. Like, I'm ringing my mum going, Sam's dead. Like, you won't believe it. So anyway, it gets to the next, whenever it was, we were sat in a pub, whatever, bowls in, comes walking in. He'd obviously saw it. Well, he was in this, I forgot the name of the gaff where I go there. Temple Bar. We sat in Temple Bar, bowls in. Like, I've been a ghost, just come walking in. But there was only, obviously, these two were in on it. And that was the best I've ever seen, because I've never, like, you couldn't do that now because of Sky Sports News and Google, everything like that. But at the time, you just actually Nokia 3210, so you can't go on Wikipedia or Sky Sport Daily Mail out, guys. But I'd rung my mum's going, well, I hadn't heard anything back here. She went, I checked the Evening Post, but I hadn't heard anything. All this. Get BBC Radio. No, I hadn't heard anything. So anyway, but I mean, Kel's was the ledge, but what sort of a person comes up? I know, we'll pretend our assistant manager's dead. But Sam was in on it as well, but it was just, as a 17-year-old kid, you're like, wow, this is different level. But no, that was a good dressing room to be around. So yeah, that was fun.
Talk me through the season that you really established yourself as a Leeds player. Talk me through that year.
So that was the same season. I'd made my debut. I was starting pre-season actually, because that's the funniest bit. We had Valencia at home in a pre-season. Leeds always have a big sort of curtain opener the Saturday before. Even now, I think they do it to play a biggish or a big foreign team at Ellen Road. I'd just won the Champions League. I'd have been in the final. I'd have won it or been in the final the previous season. So we had Valencia at home. 28,000 people were there on a Sunday.
That's the pre-season curtain.
That's the last pre-season, yeah. So anyway, we trained on a Saturday. Didn't do like shape or team work. What you do now is just normal training, possession, small-sided games. Get off, turn up in your suit at the game tomorrow. But I'd trained with the first team most of pre-season. Just got chucked in as, like I said, as a 16-year-old. And back then it was turn up in the dressing room and the team was written out. So I've walked in and and everyone's looking at you and I'm like, oh, that's everyone looking at. And I think, was it Fraser Richardson, one of the younger lads, he's like nudging me. He's going, look. And like, no exaggeration, he's nudging me going, look at the board. And I didn't expect to play, I don't know. Yeah, so yeah, there's me. Like, number 18 was the squad number I'd been given, which for a 16-year-old is a pretty low squad number nowadays. You're getting like 106.
68.
Yeah. So I'm 18 there, centre midfield, playing in like 4-4-2 centre midfield. And I was like,
Against Valencia?
Yeah, against Valencia. I'm like, wowzers. But obviously I had no intention, but I had no inkling I was going to play. I knew it was a squad. There was like 24 players at the time. But you could just tell that was the first team. It weren't like it was, right, you're playing this half, you're playing this half. He'd said, like, this is going to be my strongest. And I'm in it at 16. I'm like, wowzers. So obviously I'd not said anything to my mum and dad. I couldn't drive at the time, so they drove me in, parked in the players' car park next to all the Range Rovers and X5s or whatever.
Have a good day,
My
lad.
old man's little, I think we had Ford Focus at the time or whatever. So yeah, it's like, I'll see you afterwards, yeah. I'll leave your tickets on the gate. Next thing, I'm playing. They must have been sat in the crowd going, what? So yeah, I played in that game. Again, long story short, we drew 2-2. I scored and got sent off. So that was just that in a pre-season friendly. I think it must be only a handful of players to get sent off in pre-season, but that was kind of not surprising when you look at the rest of my career after that. But yeah, I'd played really well. Like I said, they had their strongest squad out there. Yeah, I'm sure they won it. Mendieta, Ayala, Canizares in there, the blonde-haired
I remember him.
Yeah, he dived the wrong way, so yeah.
Was it a penalty?
Yeah, it was a penalty, yeah. But yeah, how I got the penalty, I got no idea, because it was in the change room before, and they're doing set pieces. Gaffer's gone, right, who wants penalties? And I'm going, yeah, I'll have it. And he's gone, all right, you're taking it. Oh, no. What?
That brazen at 16 as well.
Like, I was that excited. It's like I'm a little kid, still had like teenage spots and stuff. Yeah, I'll have it. And anyway, we got a penalty in the game, and the captain at the time just literally grabbed the ball. I thought he was going to take it off me. Put it like, the old slap it against your belly. Here you go, son. I was like, right, no turning back now. I can't. If someone else had took it, I might have been all right. But when you've got the ball there, I can't. No, you sure you don't want it? So yeah, stepped up, took it in front of the cop, and yeah, that was the beginning of quite of a mad season for me. Bear in mind, you're 16-year-old playing for Leeds, who at that time there was such like a press interest in, because we just got relegated. Leeds getting relegated at that time was, I don't know, it's not heard of, like, which was never expected. So the press interest and all the everything around us was still massive. So a 16-year-old kid kind of making waves, so to speak, was always going to attract attention. And we had Derby at home on Sky. Shock. I mean, Leeds on Sky. It's called Sky Leeds, I think, now. So we was on Sky on Saturday on the first game of the season, 12 o'clock kickoff, about 100 degrees. And yeah, I started, got man of the match, got cramp after 60-odd minutes, so came off. But yeah, we won 1-0. And that was it. After that, there was just, like I said, papers and everything. Like, it was kind of a whirlwind for me. I think that made me the second ever youngest player to start a game. So
that's incredible. As a young Leeds fan, as a young Leeds boy, did you ever dream that you'd be the second youngest player in history to play for the club?
No, I mean, you dream of playing. Every kid dreams of it, but to dream and to actually dream is like two different things. And like I said, for my, as cheesy as it sounds, for my dreams to come true at 16-year-old, to achieve everything I'd set out for at 16-year-old, it was unbelievable.
You must have felt invincible at that stage, like you're looking out at a big mountain, you're running up. Yeah,
it's hard to explain, because looking back, I probably feel more proud now than I did at 16.
Really?
Again, like I said, at 16, you don't really know what's going on, do you still? At 16, 17, you're just out there playing football. But when you look back and you really think about what you did and what you achieved, like through me and my family, you probably feel more sense of pride as you get older. Because at the time, yeah, it's brilliant, it's amazing, but with actual pride, I don't think you actually get that till you look back on something when you're old enough to understand it.
That season, you must have played pretty well, because you were literally playing well enough for the interests of Charlton in the Premier League to come and look at you. Alan Kirbishley, I believe, was the manager at the time.
Yeah,
what can you tell me about that period?
I was you get them every year in the Premier League or Championship. You get the wonder kid, or the wonder kids, so to speak, the kid that's everybody's linked with, every top team's watching, and that was me that season. There was a few, but that was me. Yeah, every other week it was in the paper. It was again, I'm going to name drop. It was Arsenal. It was Liverpool. Liverpool was a serious one, I know.
Really?
Yeah, that was there was bids and talks. So that was actually, I know that was a serious one. And Rafa Benitez was the manager at the time. Had been to watch me in person.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the one. And then Aaron went to Tottenham in the summer. They'd accepted a bid as like a joint bid. But yeah, I didn't end up going. I stayed for.
So there was a joint bid for yourself and Aaron.
Yeah, so it was just, like I say, I was 16, 17. I think I'd played 30 odd games that season, scored a few goals, and sometimes people don't even come and watch you. They just know if you're 16, 17 playing for. Don't get me wrong, of course, come and watch you, but when your name gets out there, so yeah, there was a lot of interest that year. Like I said, I played for England. I think I played for 17s, 18s and 19s in that one season for England, because they had
incredible.
European Championships or whatever. So yeah, it'd been a pretty full-on season. So I'd done an awful lot even before I was 17. And yeah, it was a again for a kid from a quiet little town with a like I said, it was close-knit family. For all this to happen was just a bit like, wow. Like, I mean, God knows what my mum and dad must have felt, but to be fair, I had the best grounding that I could have ever had. So I think that helped me to deal with everything that was going on.
Was it a tough decision for yourself to leave Leeds United and make a move to Charlton?
It wasn't a decision. It was, you were gone. Like, it wasn't.
Really?
Yeah. We had the playoff final to go back to the Premier League, second season. We were flying. We were top. I think 10 games to go, and we hit the biggest brick wall you've ever seen. We couldn't win a raffle with one ticket.
That bad?
Yeah, and we ended up in the playoffs. And at that time, you're thinking, oh, they're on a downward spiral. And we played Preston, who'd snuck in on the last day. They were the team who've come out of nowhere and won 10 in a row. And we hadn't won in however many games. And we battered them over 2 legs. So we thought, right, we're back. We've just missed out on automatic. Here we go. And that playoff final against Watford at Cardiff, still to this day, forget that was the worst day of my football career. One because we didn't get promoted. 2 mainly because I knew that was it. I was done. I was gone. The club was selling anything that moved or didn't move.
Due to financial,
yeah.
Wow.
Mr. Bates was in charge at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, what guy he was. So yeah, he was in charge at this point, and we knew, everyone knew. I'd been told, the club had been told that if we didn't get promoted, then that was it. It was not that was it, but they would have to sell to survive, basically.
You must have been in pieces, lad, as a local boy that's come through the youth system, loves the club, season ticket holder as a child. Mm-hmm. Must have been a hard thing for you to deal with. Yeah,
it was. Again, it's another. If I'd have been older, if I'd have been 22, 23, 25, I'd have dealt with it different. Like, I probably would have been stronger against my advisors, so to speak, and against the club, and said, I'm not leaving. I don't want to leave. But as an 18-year-old kid, one, you got Premier League clubs coming out your ass trying to sign you, so that's a good thing. And 2, you kind of go along with what people, like my advisor at the time, you have going along with what they tell you because you just assume that's what they're there for.
Do you think it was in their best interest as well for you to leave?
No, I'm not saying that, but I think maybe I don't know. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but
Indeed.
maybe it could have done more for me to stay. But I knew they'd offered me a new deal in January, because again it was January in teams. I'd not played as much second season. I ruptured my hamstring badly twice, so it was a bit stop-start, the old second season syndrome. But still, I'd played for England, was doing well, had little fits and spurts where I'd be in the team and play well. So I was still doing all right, and I was still only 17, 18 at a proper championship club that was bigger than the championship. So I was still doing all right, but they'd offered me a new deal in January, and it just never got round to signing it. Not I didn't get round to signing it, but for some reason or another, it just never. I don't know why it just didn't get signed, and then eventually, I was asking, it wasn't there. I think because the club knew I was probably at the time. Aaron had already gone. Scott Carson had already gone to Liverpool. Who else was about? We had a lad called Matthew Kilgallen, who was probably the most...
Funny lad, him.
Yeah, great player at the time. He was 21, so he was probably the closest. We had Rob Hulse, a striker who scored 20-odd goals, who was still mid-20s, who he went to a Premier League club. So it was probably us three were gone, sharpish, like we were out the door, amongst others, I think. Robbie Blake went to Burnley in the Premier League, or it might have been. So people were just leaving left, right, and centre. Gary Kelly, a club legend, was getting froze out because he was still on an awful lot of money. So they were trying to freeze him out to get rid of him. There was, just stories you hear the season and time afterwards. It just really left a
sour sort of taste.
Yeah, horrible. Yeah, horrible. I've said this previously in a thing. I went bitter. I lost all love, not for Leeds, because I'd never say that, but because of the owner at the time, I'd lost affiliation, and like the club was a shambles the following season. They got relegated with about however many games to go.
Is it hard if you as a Leeds fan and a Leeds player?
Yeah, it was without a shadow of a doubt, and not just a fan. You know, you get people saying, "Oh yeah, I grew up watching Leeds." Like I literally grew up. That was my life. Like
Leeds bedsheets.
Went home and away. Like we had season tickets. I went to away games. I still go to home and away games now. I mean, you've seen my. I still go home and away. I take my daughter even. I've got her roped in. So it does make it harder because you have an emotional attachment. Of course you do. And it was still. I can't even say it was a regret of mine because I didn't have a choice. Like I would never. People say, "Do you regret leaving?" I go, "Well, no, because I didn't have a choice." It's not that I went, yeah, all right. I regret how it ended. Didn't want it to end. Would love to still be there now, but I'm not, unfortunately. So yeah, it was sad. And again, like I said, that Watford game will forever. It's still play it on Sky now. You know, they have them rewinds. Throw my telly out the window. See it.
Do you relive it? Do you think about it that much?
No.
Just when it comes on the telly, you get
I
that
see
reminder.
It flashes up, and you. But no, I don't. I've erased all memory of that day or that weekend, so to speak. Yeah, it was not a great one.
July 2006, you joined Premier League side Charlton for an initial 500k, add-ons taking it up to over £1 million. Alan Kirbysley obviously won the lottery, so to speak. You're the wonder kid he wanted. Can you talk me through that process and period? Because it's quite interesting with what happened next. So
yeah.
Let's hear about it.
This was the start. Bear in mind, I'm 19. I think I'd not turned 19 yet. I think I was 18. This was the start of me, and I'm not sure whether it was just me, signing for clubs that were in great positions. You think that's a great move. And then it turned to shit. I don't know if I can swear, but anyway.
You can say whatever you like, lad.
Clubs turned. So Charlton, I think they'd just got in the Europa League the following season.
Kirbysley smashed it with them, didn't he?
Yeah, they were brilliant. They'd been watching me, chasing me for seasons. So I'm thinking, there was others. I'm going to name drop. Everton, West Brom, Fulham. They were all in the Premier League. Tottenham, these were. But Charlton, I went down, met the sporting director, whatever they're called back then. Went and met and thought, yeah, this will do me. This is a place for me. What they weren't just the money.
Good family-run club.
Great family. I'm thinking, they looked after my family. We went down for a whole weekend. Yeah. They had a guy called Bob Snow. He's dead now, bless him. But what a guy he was! Like the old guy at the club who everyone loves. And it felt right at the time. I thought. So from the disappointment of leaving to having this
new opportunity.
I was like, right, sweet. Bear in mind, they were a Premier League club. I'd missed out on getting to the Premier League with Leeds. I'd just been bought for £1 million by Premier League clubs. Yeah. I've gone up. I ain't moved backwards or sideways.
Yeah.
or so I thought. And then, so Curbs, I'd never really had chat, but yeah, Kirbishley was the manager who was in charge when the deal was agreed, and everything. He left. For whatever reason, he left. Ian Dowie and his team took over.
So literally, Kirbishley signed you, or Kirbishley was the manager?
Yeah, the club, I think, I mean, again, going back to it, it was, and I don't want to keep saying this, but something wasn't right, because if he was leaving, why would you let a player sign? So whoever was, I didn't know this at the time. I was 18. How do I know what's going on at a football club? My parents don't know. My parents just support me, whatever I do. My mum and dad didn't know the insides and outs of what's going on at Charlton Athletic, but somebody did, and somebody knew that the club was in. The manager who wanted me was leaving, and the manager who came in, who a great guy, and I got on really well. Obviously didn't. Not obviously. I wouldn't say obviously, because I was signed as a young player. I was never signed to take. I think Danny Murphy had just left or retired, so I was never signed to replace him. It wasn't that they were bringing me in, going, "Oh yeah, you can like."
Got the next Murphy here.
Yeah, that wasn't the case. I was coming in as a young player. I signed a 4-year deal, so I was coming in as the word that everyone uses now is a project player. So yeah, I was coming in as a young player to.
Interesting.
Yeah, to get to kind of get in there eventually. And the worst thing was, I'd played all of pre-season, like literally none of reserve games, none of the like second 11 games. I'd been on the bench at least. I started every game for the first team. We had New Zealand national team at the Valley the week before the season started. Played an hour. I'm quite critical of myself. Played really well, and then we had West Ham away the following week, and I weren't involved. And then before you know it, Ian Dowie's like, look, Ipswich have come in for you. So it transpires, they just happened that the two managers were really, really, really close pals. So, I ended up at Ipswich, which, by the way, after Leeds is I'm going to upset a few people, but Ipswich after Leeds was the second best club I played for.
You loved Ipswich, didn't you?
Without a doubt, mate.
Yeah.
And again, that ended. Went to Ipswich on loan, probably played the best.
Scored some important goals for Ipswich as well.
Yeah, I'd scored. I got young Championship Player of the Month. Me and Mark Noble, both on loan, signed on the same day. Played 2 in midfield. We've had similar career paths since, as you could tell. But this is football. Like, Nobes got recalled at the same time, went into West Ham's first team. I got recalled by Les Reed to go into Charlton's first team to play against Arsenal away on the following Saturday. Was in the team shape and everything. But I'd been recalled. Like, I would have happily stayed at Ipswich. I'd have probably signed for him, like, if I could. I'd played probably consistently the best career of my football. Like, I was getting in under 21 recognition. Like I said, we were second or third in the league. It was such a good group of players. Great. I don't know. It's just I lived there. Put me in a flat. Everything. And I got recalled by Charlton Les Reed. Ian Dowie had left at this point. Again, club for early doors. Another club going to shit early doors. But I didn't play, so I'm taking no blame for him getting sacked. Les Reed recalled me. We did team shape. We did all the set pieces, as you do on the Friday. No, it wasn't, because it was a night game. On the Monday. So I played for Ipswich on the Saturday. Knew I was getting recalled. Funnily enough, my last game for Ipswich was Leeds at home. We won 1-0. So I got a really good reception from both sets of fans. I'll never forget that. It was really nice. So I went into training on the Sunday, did a cool down. He pulled me in his office, said, look, I haven't recalled you to sit you on the bench because I need a bit of fight.
Les Reed.
Yeah. It was shit at the time. The Charlton were bottom of the league.
It's a really tough time for Charlton in their history.
Journeymen all over the gaff. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they'd signed a lot of, I don't know if I can say this, they'd signed a lot of kind of foreign lads. I think they'd signed like a geezer who'd scored for Uruguay against England, but I don't know. It weren't a great place to be, but there were some great lads. Like, the English core of that squad was...
Marcus Bent was there as well.
Benty was a legend.
Yep.
Both Bentys, Darren Bent.
Was Darren there as well?
Yeah, both of them. Darren Ambrose, Luke Young, Ben Thatcher. I mean, it was
on
just...
paper, it's a really good team.
Andy Reid, do you remember the Irish midfield? Yeah. So anyway, he recalled me. He said, look, I just want some people who are going to run around a lot and show me some balls. Like, that isn't... I think he might say bollocks, but Les was very politely spoken, so he might not swear. But he said, I just want someone to run around who's going to give me like at 19, I was energetic, believe it or not. Anyone watched me over the last few years go, really? So this was a Monday. Tuesday morning we were meeting. We were going to Waltham Abbey. What's the one round the M25? Might be, Waltham Abbey. Yeah, actually, anyway, the hotel every football team meets. We were meeting there for pre-match, team analysis, have a sleep in the afternoon, go to the Emirates. Turned up at the hotel. Matty Holland's the manager. Matty Holland's captain. Like, come on, lads, we got a meeting. I'm like, all right. Straight in. Alan Pardew walks in. I'm like, what? So yeah, Pards had got the job.
So Les Reed's gone or moved? Did he move up or was he completely gone?
Gone. Again, long, boring story short. Name the team, name the subs, weren't involved. It's like, brilliant, cheers. Needed experience now. I was like, right, yeah, that's worked well so far. But yeah, so anyway, that just kind of summed up the next however many years. Like I said, I'd gone from starting a Premier League game at Arsenal away to changing overnight to not being involved. And then I travelled to all the games. And I got a funny story, actually. It's not funny, but I travelled to, we had Everton. I think we had Everton away. And we were getting battered, absolutely battered. We signed Amdi Faye, centre midfielder. Don't know if you remember him.
I remember Faye. Yeah.
So anyway, he was going to get dragged after half an hour. Alan Pardew's turned around. He's gone to me, go get warm. And I'm like half looked to the side, not knowing. So anyway, 5 minutes later, he's turned around, come storming to the dugout. I told you, go get... And Gaffer, I'm not even a sub. I travelled, but I'd done the warm-up, but I weren't even a sub. But he'd come steaming over, he's going, I've told you, do you not want to... I went, Gaffer, I'm not even on the bench.
Incredible.
And he's looked at Phil Parkinson was a sink. But between them, they must have he's gone, he's not on the bench. It's like... So again, that just sums it up. I was going to get on. I probably had a worldie, and then that'd have been it. I'd have been in the England team 2 weeks later. But he'd gone to put me on, but I wasn't even on the bench. So yeah, that just pretty much summed up my time at Charlton. It was just...
You couldn't have joined Charlton really at a worse time in their history with Kirbysley leaving.
This goes on.
Was Leon Arts in there when you was there?
No. I mean, it was just... I don't know. It was just... Again, a club that went through turmoil. From then on, we got relegated that season a lot, badly. A lot of players left, a lot of players came. We had change of managers. I finished the season on loan at Cardiff, which was a disaster. And it was back then. I couldn't go back to Ipswich. I was desperate to go back to Ipswich. I went to a few of the games when I didn't travel. I would hang around like a bad smell. I used to go sit in Jimmy Gilton's office and that, and be like, "Hey, coming back? I've got any chance coming back?" But you couldn't go back. You couldn't re-sign for a team that you'd been on loan too long. For some reason, I couldn't sign. I was going, "Well, just buy me, do anything, get me out of there." So yeah, it was just from going from a really disastrous end to the following season to a really, really, really positive up to Christmas that season. It just literally went like that again. And yeah, that was the end of that.
Queen's Park Rangers come in for you. The agent calls. He's like, we've got interest. What was your initial reaction when you found out the news that Queen's Park Rangers were interested in you?
Well, this was where my first taste of being treated like a man in football, but not wanted, came in at Charlton.
Really?
Yeah. As a kid, you kind of get mollycoddled a little bit. Not mollycoddled, but you get put politely.
Sort of kid gloves.
Yeah. Which you have to. That's enough. But I think I was only 19 still, and I came in. We trained first day pre-season, did all the testing, all the old school shit, bleep test, weight, body fat, which for me was fine back then. It was not a problem. Trained, done all that. Then the next day we was going on our pre-season camp to Marbella, because obviously Alan Pardew and that loved the little trip to Marbella. So
Pardew loves mobs.
Yeah. So they went to Marbella. 24-man squad. We didn't have much. But we're turning up the next day. So I've turned up in my tracksuit, and stupidly, naively, there was a squad list on the board. I weren't in it. there was 3 young kids who'd never really trained with it, but there was me. Who was the other young lad? Might have been. Was it Lloyd Sam? Might have been Lloyd Sam. But anyway, we weren't in it, and I was a bit like. And I weren't the best at hiding my disappointment, so off I go, up to the gaffer's office. Gaffer, why are you travelling? So we've had a discussion. We don't want you. Like, there was no.
That simple.
Yeah, it was just like, look, we didn't sign you. Like, I understand you've got a 3-year few years left on your contract. We just try and find a new club. We'll help you out as much as possible. We've circulated. I was like, all right. He said, well, we spoke to your agent. I'm like, well, you rung me. So anyway, that was it. I trained with the kids. Not kids, because they're all my age, to be fair. Some of them were older than me. I had a close pal at the time who I lived with for a little bit, Darren Randolph, who, again, has gone on and done well. So we were training together. So it weren't that I was only 19, so I say training with the kids. I was training with people my own age after going from a £1 million signing, training with the first team. Just trained with the kids, played in all the youth team games. Went to... Who did we play? And this was my first real... Like, the first team were playing, do I want to say? A Spanish team. I want to say like Deportivo at home. And they were playing 2-22, so there was a lot of players in it. 2-22s, 2-11s.
There's just a lot of players
yeah, I know. The under-18s or 19s it was back then were playing Brentwood Town away. So squad list has gone up. I'm going to Brentwood. I'm going, nah. I'm not. I ain't going to Brentwood. So anyway, Mark Kinsella was in charge of that, and Kins was brilliant, great guy. He knew the script. He looked after me, and like he was going, look, just try and get a club. He said, so anyway, I did go to Brentwood. I give it a bigness. I ain't going to fucking Brentwood. Did go to Brentwood. Did I get sent off? I either got sent off early doors or I had to be subbed. It was a friendly, so I assume I got subbed. I'd lost my head. I'd gone. There were Brentwood's. I don't know why we played Brentwood, but we played Brentwood, and they had this big geezer who just kept booting everyone. And I think I'd lost my head and booted him, got subbed, and then that was it. I went in for meetings, and before you know it, John Gregory and Mick Harford were turning up at our games to watch me. They were in charge of QPR at the time. And there was quite a few of us. But yeah, I ended up again signing for QPR, which at the time was a great decision. It was another good, stable, kind of well-run club, like a proper good traditional family club, and I knew people who'd been there. I thought, yeah, like I knew Mark Bircham, who was a legend there. People at had only said good things, and yeah, I went there. My mum and dad came down, met John Gregory, took us to. Is it Crockford's, the big posh casino in London? Is it Crockford's or Croxton? One or the other. Anyway, big posh casino. Me, my mum and dad are in this casino in the middle of London. I thought, yeah, I'll sign here, no problem. But again, he was a legend. And yeah, had a real good pre-season. Oh no, I tell you what, I hadn't had a good pre-season. That's the biggest lie ever. I nearly got sent back a week later because it turned out that there was some dodginess going on. So the owner had borrowed money off a friend at Oldham Athletic to buy me. So nearly, like he bought me with fraudulent money. So the receipt was going back to Charlton to get her money back. But yeah, so that I was like, I couldn't train, couldn't play for like a week. I was like, oh. Anyway, then I had a good pre-season, played in all the games, was doing really well. Thought, I love it here, like great set of lads. My mate had signed, so I was buzzing. I was like, yeah. First game of the season, started off at Fulham at home, started off half an hour, doing really well. I think we were 1-0 up or whatever. Alexei Smirtin, the Russian midfielder, whack. Broke my leg 2 places, first game of the season, gone.
No way.
Gone, yeah.
Lad.
Straight to hospital, Charing Cross, in hospital for 2 days. Had to wait for the bone to go back, because the bone, it weren't just like a standard break, it was out. Like, I thought it was my shin pad. It was out. So yeah, supermodels in the players' lounge. I'm injured, sat next to Naomi Campbell and Heidi Klum. So yeah, there's worse places to be, but that just turned into an absolute. I remember Dream Team, the programme.
I love Dream Team.
It was like that at times.
Really?
So I used to go to change the. I'd not been for a while because they'd said, look, have some time off. And when the new owners like Briatore, Bernie Eccleston come in, gone back into what the players' lounge was. I'm going, I've come in the wrong room here. I'm in like a London Mayfair bar, and they've done it all up. But the rest of the like boxes were bog standard, and they've done the players' lounge, and it's like a bar in Mayfair. And honestly, Naomi Campbell and Heidi Klum were at one of the games, sat in like there. I was like, this ain't right. And it was mental. I made my first game back. We had Chelsea in the FA Cup third round, and we stayed at Chelsea Harbour Hotel to travel there 'cause it's a bit of a local derby. We came into a meeting in the morning. Flavio Briatore walked around and gave us all a watch, brand new watch.
Incredible.
It's from Harrod, some Italian mate got a brand new watch. It was like, this is mental. What's going on?
You weren't getting out of Brentwood, lad.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I was like, I'm playing Brentwood against some geezer who'd had 25 pints 2 weeks before. Yeah, not two. I was like, Jesus. I think we Googled it. It was worth about $3,000.
That's incredible.
I still got it.
Every first team member then got one?
Yeah, everyone who was in the squad and staff got a watch. But it's ledged, to be fair. It's got like a QPR badge ingrained on the back, and it said, thank you for all your work and that. I'm thinking, I ain't done sod all, mate, apart from cost you thousands in medical bills so far. So yeah, that was fun. And then we had an Italian manager who couldn't speak English, which is not great because I'm the hardest person to understand ever anyway. And it was just, I was like, fucking hell, what's going on here? Played against Plymouth away, we won 2-0. I done really well, got man of the match, got in team of the week, everything in the papers. That was my first start. We had Watford away the following week, weren't travelling. Team squad list goes up on a Friday, just weren't even travelling, not even like a spare man. Just weren't travelling. Like, I give in. I give in. I'm only 9. I was 20. I think.
Gave me a laugh the week before. Next week, not even
honestly,
in the squad.
First game back, and you couldn't go speak to him because he had this melt of an interpreter. Not only who's like you're trying to get angry to him, going, "Why aren't I involved?" And he's going like this, and I'm going, "No, shout at him or something.
Show him some passion.
Yeah, so
interpret
this
some
Italian
passion."
manager, Luigi Di Canio, is like raising his voice too, and then this other geezer, he's going, and I'm like, mate, I was like, get me out of here. Then it was mental. There was, I think, about 3 players finished the season who actually started the season. It was just crazy.
Crazy times.